about, I think, people who were being rude and disrespectful. But I think what you need to understand, and somebody had already mentioned it, but clearly your statement here means you don't get it. It is a two-way street. It is a two-way street. And so if your comment is simply that the parents of the kids on the bus don't care and that should be enough, that's the point. If you are part of this community, you recognize everyone in the community. Everyone. So I was sympathetic, but clearly you don't get the point. It's not just about one group, it's about us all.
I got 8349 Spring Hill. Two things. When I put in a complaint to the village about whatever situation occurs, rarely do I get an answer back. Okay? So sometimes I don't even know if it's taken care of. And back to the subject of buses. There are buses speeding constantly up Spring Hill, whether we have ice on the ground or slush or rain. They're constantly zipping. 10:30 at night, they're zipping. There was a time I'm walking the dog. The dog got very afraid because the bus was zipping. I called, I got the number. It was the school's name. I called the bus company and I told them what was going on. And they said, okay. The next day, I was talking to Mrs. Jacobs. The bus came zooming up again. I moved the dog to the lawn, to her lawn, and that bus came that close to me as a threat. Okay? So it is a problem. You call, and this is what happens. He looked at me dead in the face and came this close to me. I had to jump back on the lawn.
Thank you. Name and address for the record.
Gershon Wenger, 24 Eastbourne Drive. I just want to speak in regard to the matter of the buses. I know my wife and some of the neighbors' wives have actually tried attempting to speak with some of the bus drivers, and definitely no possibility of any mitigation there. I'm just wondering, is there a possibility of putting perhaps a speed bump, especially I live on Eastbourne, which is pretty much a racetrack. Sometimes it's for buses, sometimes it's actually private cars that are going maybe 40, 50 miles an hour. Is there something that may be discussed before the board, or a possibility of a speed bump?
Mr. Wanger, we've discussed also speed bumps in the past. Unfortunately, the speed bumps really is more, it becomes an inconvenience. And while to some degree it's a safety tool, it also becomes an inconvenience now for people who are negotiating those streets every day. And because with the plowing and things of that nature, it complicates things. And we've had this discussion a while now. The bottom line is, we have to get the point across to the school bus drivers, companies, but most importantly, East Ramapo, because they're the ones that are paying the freight. And what's going to end up happening is that the police will eventually catch them. They will eventually catch them, and there's going to be a problem. And at this point, however, we have to follow the numbers. We can't inconvenience the whole neighborhood in that regard. I hear you, and we're trying to figure out different ways to do it, and that's why we tell folks to call. What time of day is it? What's the bus number? And a lot of times what happens, we get compliance for a month, 6 weeks.
Well, some of it's private cars as well. It's not only the
True.
buses.
Well,
Eastbourne especially.
and it's not just Eastbourne. It's all over
Eastbourne's
the
a
village.
straight-
It's all over the village. But we hear you. We have to work on it. But
Okay.
speed bumps, I don't think is the way.
If you can't get compliance with your own children on your own buses, I don't know how you expect anybody else. But I'm just saying, if parents.
I wish we had.
Mr. Lievelson.
Jerry Liebelson, 31 Middle Road. There's another solution to the school bus problem. It's not just the speeding buses, it's the oppressive number and schedule of the buses, which I stated before, and the fact, and this is what could be changed, I would hope, certainly practically it can be changed, is that the buses make a stop in front of each kid's house. Now, when I went to school, and I went to Fleetwood K through 6, I went to all the public schools, I walked. I was a walker. I walked to Fleetwood School. I walked to our bike to the middle school here when it was 9th grade, okay? Then when it came to high school, there was a designated bus stop in certain parts, near one corner here, another one there. Now, I'm not gonna get into why, I don't know why this is the case, why things have changed, I don't even wanna
I
know.
just want to tell you that it's not us. What happened
The
was.
school district, right?
School district
All right,
passed
okay.
the law making it
Whatever it is, okay, there is a solution here, okay?
Mr. Lieberson, the solution is, you're absolutely right, but there are requirements, there are certain requirements as far as the pickup and drop off. I have no issue with, and I don't mean to be, to diverting the attention, but if the East Ramapo School District has certain rules and regulations when it comes to what the pickup and drop off and the location and how far you have to be. It used to be 1/10 of a mile, that if you were beyond 1/10 of a mile, you were entitled for the bus to pick you up closer, whatever the case may be. That's a school board issue. that
Okay,
we
so
have
then
no
I will
control
just
over.
end and say that I ask those who have influence with the school board, whoever does have influence with the school board, I think there is a solution here.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, without speed bumps, which are ridiculous, I will fight that to my dying day.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Moses Engel, 1 Melrose Lane.
Good evening, Mr.
I've been
Bennett.
living here for 2.5 years now. I want to thank the village for preparing such a beautiful 1 Melrose Lane. It's a beautiful village where we have a nice place to live with our big families. The lady that sold my house to me, she had 2 people looking at the house wanting to buy it, an older couple and myself. She told me, "Thank you for buying the house." I was a little bit afraid that an older person will come and buy the house, or some other people that will bring crime to the place. She's happy that the young family. She's happy that the young family will come here and enjoy the village the same way she enjoyed the village when she was young and had younger children. And this is what we should be looking at. And one point I want to say here, I was very disappointed by someone hearing here that she is becoming the outcast of the village. She should be ashamed of saying that in front of an American flag.
Where I live.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I want to correct that. It said the street where I live.
Anyone, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm sure. Nadesh Richardson for Matthew Drive. I didn't expect to come up here to speak, but I just want to say this because I got to go. I got my car running, my kids in the car.
Hopefully the windows
They're
are
old
open.
enough. They're old enough. Trust me, I wouldn't say it if it wasn't. It's all good. But you know, I think really what we all want here is respect for each other. You know, you say you come into the neighborhood to be friendly. I haven't really seen that. I have put myself out there. I have my husband is not the friendliest person. I'm gonna speak on that. Okay, but he's not here. But I could have he knows people in here that's gonna tell him, and that's okay too. But you know, I've got him to the point where he can actually speak to everyone that's moved into the neighborhood. That wasn't him before. He would walk with his dog and he would make sure you're scared. Now it's not like that, because I've showed him how to treat others how you want to be treated. Now, yeah, they may not treat you the same way, but that doesn't mean you can't be nice. See, I have children in my home. A family came and told me her husband sent her down here from Israel to come and buy our house. That was actually 4 years ago, before every other house sold to them. We're still there, and I'm not planning on moving.
Who's them?
It doesn't matter who's them. I'm
Them.
still speaking. Okay, excuse me.
Excuse me, all right.
Not them. Excuse me. Pardon me. That's wrong. Not them. You guys. But, I don't know how else to say it. I'm not trying to be rude. Like I said, respect people. Okay, right. I'm trying to be respectful.
Yes.
Because I want to be respected as well.
Yes.
Okay. And I said, no, we're not selling. I have no sign here. He said, well, we have 8 children and we want your house. I said, well, we have 8 children, which we do. We have 8 children also, and we're not moving. So, you know, I'm sorry, we're not selling. She left and put her card in my mailbox as if I was probably the maid. I don't know what she thought. Okay? It continued on years and years. We're still there anyway. Speeding down the street, I'm not speaking of just the bus. The buses still do it, but I'm speaking of literally my neighbors. My neighbors, not just people, my neighbors. I have children, Monday through Thursday or Friday, before evening time, they speeding past. My neighbors are speeding past. I had to literally jump in front of one of the cars and ask them to please stop. That's not okay. Because see, I'm not gonna do it, and I don't. And my children say, why do you drive so slow? Because if I'm asking my neighbors not to do it, I should not be doing it also. And it still happens. I did call the town, okay? Nothing happened. It still happened until recently. Actually, my neighbors came over to our house and brought us a gift and said, it's nice to have neighbors like you. Things can change. You know, if someone is not approaching you to give you what you think you deserve, teach them how to treat you. You have to teach people how to treat you in order for you to get what you want. And so, we may not be the same, but guess what? We are living in the same community now as if we are.
That's correct.
Okay, so,
Thank
you
you.
know, I'm just asking for respect, and I just want y'all to know I'm happy.
Anyone else? Anyone else? All right, Mr. Levine, you have a chance.
Mark Levine, 14 Lancaster Lane. Unfortunately, my neighbors always have a lot to say and complain, but nobody's coming up to speak. So I will speak for them about One Carroll. Okay? One Carroll Court is a 40 by 50 expansion, 2 levels, 4,000 square feet on an existing, I'm not sure what the existing house is because the plans were sent to me and the calculations are not accurate on the plans.
I'm
So,
pulling up the file. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm pulling up the file as you speak.
that's okay. You want a little time?
No, you're good.
Okay. Anyway, so I reviewed the plans, and the plans refer to the Spring Valley Building Code, not Chestnut Ridge. The plans refer to a proposed deck and outside deck stairs,
I don't
but
understand something.
there's no
The
proposed
lady
deck
that lives on, if you go up Parking Road, you get
on the plans.
Say you make a right on, I think it's on Highview or Highview.
The plans also show
That's what last time it said. They use it-
a two-car
they use it
garage.
as
It
a place of religion. I'm sure
doesn't
it's not
say
clean.
the garage is existing, but the hallway
So what is the man? What is
that
the
leads
man
into the
doing
house
These houses are worship.
just goes from the garage right through the house with no fire doors,
This guy ain't gonna do this.
no doors whatsoever.
Listen, we all have issues.
But these plans were approved, and I can go on and on with problems with these plans. And how do we address that? I mean, multiple, the plans also, in the general notes,
This guy Jerry, he's gonna move too far.
talk about the building of a two-family home.
Yeah.
My understanding is One Carroll Court is located in an RR50 district.
Correct.
It is a pre-existing, non-conforming lot. The lot width is 147 feet. The bulk requirements as specified in the highest residential district having the same or less lot width is a use group T as in Tango. The proposed construction complies with bulk use group T as in Tango. A check by the building inspection office of the FAR came out below the 2.0 FAR requirements. Apparently, there is an approved site plan from, it said Martin Spence. Now, I'm following up how Martin was involved with that because Martin is the village engineer, all right? So it's, you want to talk about an independent eye, that's an independent eye. The design identifies the addition of a playroom, a den, a study, and a bathroom. The application for the building permit dates back to 2015. The actual building permit wasn't issued until 2016, apparently because of some problems with regard to design changes and probably some financial issues. It didn't meet the criteria at the time. That would require ARB review. The deep foundation is being built at this time in anticipation of when they get their financing and obtaining possible variances for future expansion. That's why the roof is flat. They are hoping to add a second floor in the future. So that is one carol, as I am told it is.
Okay. Okay, let me make a few comments. Just a few discrepancies on the plan. Okay. Well, first of all, I think the construction plans would show no fire doors, a direct access from the garage to the house. That's a violation, and it never should have been approved on the plans.
I'm seeing something here that apparently there's some type of approval from the village engineer, which is kind of
I understand
unusual.
that.
So at this point, Mr. Levine, I'm really not going to be able to comment. I'll let you tell me, and all I'm
okay.
going to tell you is that all I have is what's in front of me and what has been previously approved. But obviously, if it's going to need to be reviewed again, it will. But this is the information to date.
Okay, I understand that, and I understand you haven't looked at the plans. So I have, briefly, the plans show both floors at 1,325 square feet. But the measurements that are on the plans don't coincide with the measurements they used. And also, if you just look at the house, the top floor and the bottom floor are a different size. The top floor overhangs the bottom floor. So how can the square footage be the same? But yet in the calculations, it is the same. Also, the statement you made that it's a non-conforming lot is not accurate. It's an average density lot. Definitely not non-conforming. Non-conforming takes rights away from all the homeowners there. It was done as an average density.
But they're getting the benefit of the larger zone requirements of the R50.
Well, they shouldn't be.
Right, they are.
Technically, they shouldn't be, because when the average density was done back in 1972 or 74, they had to use a different bulk table accordingly. So they shouldn't be using the R50. That's one of the small points, okay? Because the floor area ratio.
I just have to ask you, there's
Yes,
two
I'm gonna
people
try.
behind you and...
Well, okay, anyway, I'll just stick to major issues that I see as major. But the calculations used, and it shows the floor area ratio to be 0.20, but it says as per architect. So where's everybody else? A figure was just put in there. It could be accurate. I think it's very close to being accurate, but these are plans, okay? These are building plans. They should be 100% accurate. And when they're mentioning Spring Valley building code, when they're mentioning two-family homes, when they're mentioning the construction, how to construct the deck and the stairs to the deck, when the plans don't call for a deck. So these plans should have been cleaned up before a building permit was ever issued. And I'm only touching on part of the facts. Another main issue is that they're calling the main structure, the playroom, a basement on the plans, even though it's above ground. But they're calling the structure below it a cellar, and that is definitely below ground, okay? But what they have done on these plans is, after a cellar is 6 feet 3 inches, it has to be considered in the floor area ratio. So to deliberately avoid that 2,000 feet being used in the floor area ratio, the floor on this structure is 2 feet 4 inches of gravel. How on 2,000 square feet can anybody, building inspector, anybody, measure this throughout the 2,000 square feet to see if it conforms to the code? I don't see, I mean, I thought that mud basements went out in the 1800s. So to permit something like that, and I wonder if anybody called the health department to see if there's a problem with doing that with radon gas. But I don't think anything was done. And if a kid goes into that basement with a pail, he can change the whole floor area ratio of the house. So my feeling is, and it's a personal feeling, that construction should be approved with fixed floors, not floors that you can change the level of. And to do a floor of 6 feet and have 2 foot 4 inches of gravel on 2,000 square feet of area, and now you're telling me, and this is why these applications should go before a planning board for public input, so the public can know what's going on, so the public can know that hopefully it's not a two-family house, and they would hear that it's not a two-family house, but it's a very large recreation room.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm not gonna go over all the deficiencies in this plan, but there are a tremendous amount of them. So how does...
I tell you what, Mr. Levine, send me an email with all of the deficiencies that you are seeing.
Why should I have to...
Well, because
I'm not talking about sending you an email. I'm talking about why should I, as a resident, have to review plans...
You do not.
...that are so far off, so far out of whack.
You know what, Mr. Levine, I apologize. I will have the building inspector double-check the plans for 1 Carroll. Thank you.
But he's already checked them and okayed them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
The end result of all of this
Oh, I'm
dialogue.
sorry, wait a second. There was, I think there was a question on the side of the room.
I
What's
was
the
asking
question?
him how much money you expect to make on the deal. I mean,
No,
it just sounds-
Oh.
No, it just sounds weird.
That comment is bordering on slanderous, and I would suggest, sir, that you don't say something like that.
Oh, it's fine.
Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. DeBruy.
Based on what we see is being structured,
Mr. P. Robertus, this is the second time that he's interrupting.
based on the structure that's being built. The bottom line is, we know what the end result of this property, the completion of the property, we know, all of the people in the community know what the end result is gonna be.
A single-family house.
Yeah, no, that's beyond your thinking. It's gonna be used for religious purposes.
Single-family
No
house.
offense, no
Then
offense.
Mr. D. Robertus,
I have no offense about the use.
you're allowed to have your opinion.
But hold it, let me say something. They were given a permit for a residential use.
Correct.
That's not the case. Just like Spring Hill was, their permit was withdrawn, this inspector was sleeping.
Mr. D. Robertus,
And you
there is
told me
no
that.
indication,
You
there is
said-
no indication that it's being used otherwise,
At this
being
point-
built as a
at
first
this
one
point-
family. That's
at this
correct.
point-
At this point.
At this point now, because it's not complete.
Thank you.
Okay. You said you had some control over the inspectors at one point. I think that you should review the inspector's ability, just like this gentleman's just been saying, about the blueprints and the structure of the property.
Thank you.
Again,
Thank you, sir.
it's on you.
Mr. Liebelson.
Jerry Liebelson, 31 Midway Road. I will agree, I think this is another example of a misrepresentation of what's being built, but There are children in the neighborhood have told neighbors that it's gonna be a school. Now,
Mr. Lieberson, I would just ask that really, please, there's enough stuff in the air and in the wind,
Okay,
all right? Please don't.
okay. I actually, but the thing is, the issue is, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the fact that it's not coming to the building department and being presented as such, okay? This is why I think that what the planning consultants did with the zoning law change, I think that what they have there makes some sense. But just be above board. If you're saying you're gonna do this for this purpose, then that's what it will be, and you'll need to have parking lot and a school ground and all that stuff.
I have no argument with that.
All right, okay, now, on the, I want to submit two more things for the record, and I want an answer from the building inspector.
Well, Mr. Lieberson, you talk to me. You really
I will
don't,
talk to
you don't
Well,
demand.
then-
You talk to me, you
I
can request from
request an
me.
answer from you, okay, may I?
You may approach, sure.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
so what I have here is a copy of the foundation plan and a copy of the cellar floor plan, okay, from the FOIL.
Of what?
Of One Carroll Court.
Okay, I'm
We're
sorry.
talking
Okay.
One Carroll Court.
Gotcha.
Yesterday, and this, I took the FOIL, I don't know, I think it was a few weeks ago. I just want to show everybody this picture. Now, yesterday, there was a bunch of cement trucks, and they were pouring with a big rig, and they laid in, if you can see in this colored picture, there is a large rectangular long structure, which is basically a walled in with poured concrete walls. Now, I am not, and I'll admit, I am not a building inspector. I have been learning how to read plans as I go along. I don't see anything in those plans for that structure.
Okay.
And I ask,
Is that the
what is
FOIL?
that? That's the question.
All right.
What is this, what is that for?
And it will be responded.
Thank you.
And then it will
For
be
next, whenever, next
Well,
month.
if you've submitted the FOIL, there's a procedure.
No, I already done the FOIL.
And will you, and
No,
when did you
I mean,
submit
that's the result of the FOIL, is that I see the
Oh,
plans.
okay, well, this
That
is
happened
it.
just yesterday.
Okay.
Now, I haven't now, did the plans may have changed? Yes. Could. I haven't done a FOIL since the first one.
well, perhaps then that's what you need to do, because I don't know what, right now, I don't
All right.
need to respond other than
I have to
submit
do
your
a
FOIL,
before I get it in.
submit your FOIL, and we will
And
answer
if
you
I still see
accordingly.
that the plans do not.
Then let me
reflect
know, then let me know.
Okay.
No problem, no issue.
Carol Jacobs, 55 Spring Hill Terrace.
Good evening.
Good evening. Long evening.
That's what we're here for.
When we were seeing what was going on at 3 Spring Hill Terrace, we were coming to the various boards and saying exactly what people are saying now about One Carroll. We were told about Spring Hill Terrace the exact same thing that you're telling us now about One Carroll, that we just go with the information that we were given, and so far we have no reason to pursue this further. I mean, that's exactly what you told us about 3 Spring Hill Terrace. The outcome was, we have 3 Spring Hill Terrace now, and who knows what the outcome will be for One Carroll. The problem I have with that, though, is that when we went before the zoning board recently with a lawyer, we were chastised for not letting them know what was going on. And apparently, if One Carroll turns out to be another 3 Spring Hill Terrace, we will again be chastised for not letting people know what's going on.
When you say chastised, you mean chastised by the ZBA?
Yes. Yes. No. Yes.
Latches.
Okay. Because the ZBA, they're supposed to be sitting as a quasi-judicial body.
That's what
They
it's saying.
they are not in the position to chastise. They are supposed to look at the facts, and they are supposed to apply the law. And that's all I'm going to be able to say.
Okay, well, there are people here that were there and heard what I heard.
That's fine.
That's what I have to say.
Thank you.
The other thing I wanted to mention, which I wasn't going to get up and say anything about, but it's just an FYI for your information. You had mentioned something earlier in the evening about parking facilities for the synagogues that are...
Neighborhood houses of worship, community houses of worship, yes.
Okay, well, if you will drive by 3 Spring Hill Terrace, you will notice tire tracks on the lawn because they had cars parked on the lawn. They didn't have enough parking facilities.
Well, cars can't be parked on the lawn regardless, so.
Exactly, but they don't have parking facilities, so they were forced to park on the lawn because they couldn't park anywhere
But
else. Whatever.
fair enough, and I take that as,
It was an FYI.
and I appreciate
That's all it
it.
was.
Thank you. Thank you. Name and address for the record.
5 Terrace Court.
Oh, did you take the risk?
Sorry, Yoel Wertzberger, 5 Terrace Court.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Still live there.
Yoel Wertzberger, I'm sorry.
Yoel
Wertzberger,
Wurzburg, 5.
Terrace Court. Is it okay for someone to go into private properties and take pictures?
No, they shouldn't be, nobody should be going on your private property.
Then I can test those pictures that he took. He was on private properties and I've seen him taking that.
Okay,
Which picture?
thank you. We're not gonna get into, we're not gonna get into a back and forth at this point, but no one is supposed to be going on private property.
He keeps on doing that.
All right, no problem.
Is that the crowd trespassing style?
Yes, sir, name and address for the record.
Mark Marone, 23 Lancaster.
Marone.
Mark Marone.
Mr. Marone,
I'm just coming up to speak about One Carroll.
Sure.
And my concerns. I know there's obviously a permit for a recreation room or a family room or a playroom.
Yep.
Which is the size of the house now.
Yep.
So it's an awful big playroom.
Yep.
The house is currently, I guess, a single family residence.
Yes,
An R50 with
R-
average density.
correct.
It doesn't appear like the building, from the quick look I looked at, the character of the proposed building is going to conform with the neighborhood. And it also, I don't know if the parents of the board, but it's currently being used as a one-family and also a gathering place,
All right, which is permitted.
which is probably permitted. And it's pretty obvious, and I think everybody here anticipates that it's going to be used as a one-family residence with a bigger gathering place.
Okay,
That's probably what it's going to be used for.
possibly.
And I just feel that if that is going to, and I invite that to happen. I think that's great if it does happen. But I think it should go through planning, zoning, approvals by the town to keep with character of the way it should be built and designed. And it should not be up to the building inspector, who apparently has faltered before, okay?
Your
now
opinion, and others' opinions,
Well, in the zoning board of appeals opinion,
their opinion.
or their opinion. But I just think you guys should be watching out for the town. The town is changing, you know it's changing. You see what's happening, what's going on in other communities. And I invite, my neighbors are great, I love my neighbors. I think it's great that they worship or they go to shul down the street, it's a house. I love driving by and seeing the kids. I think it's beautiful, okay?
Thank you.
But I just think that it should be done, if they're gonna say that I'm building a one-family residence with a playroom, they should be honest, and that's what it's used for.
No argument.
Okay, and I just think it's on you guys. It's 6 months from now when it's being used as a bigger, school or house of worship. What do we do?
It's
What's
not
our
gonna be